I want to start out by apologizing if I seem slightly distracted in today's video. It's because I just adopted another cat, and it's equally cute as Pips. How could I possibly focus on anything aside from this adorable kitten currently making itself at home within my home? That being said, I'll do my best to maintain and continue a immersive Chainsaw Man experience. I already broke this. And to kick us off in a kind of fun direction, I figured I could give you the spoiler-free review of volumes 2 and 3, both of which we'll be covering here in depth today, wordlessly. That way, no one could accuse me of getting into spoilers. So here are my spoiler-free thoughts of volume 2 and 3 of Chainsaw Man. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into Volume 2 and 3 of Chainsaw Man. Volume 2 of Chainsaw Man kicks off with the bat fight from Volume 1 coming to a pretty quick conclusion. And the only really important character beat we see here is that Denji doesn't have too much of a care when it comes to human life. He is willing to just throw a car with people in it at the bat. So that's kind of hardcore. He survives what looks like a vicious sonic attack and then finally defeats the gargantuan devil bat. And we see Power is okay and alive after being swallowed by this devil. And she agrees to follow through on her promise and let Denji touch her chest. So we're really sticking with that here. But just as he's about to do so, his hand gets blown off from the bat's girlfriend arriving? Apparently devils have significant others, which brings in so many questions about what exactly these things desire and are capable of. Can they breed? What would happen if, like, the bat devil and the snake devil had a child? Would we get a bat snake devil? I don't know, and I'm very curious. I mean this with 100% sincerity. My favorite part of Chainsaw Man so far, and this comes with a lot of criticisms, but I genuinely enjoy this element of the story. It's keeping me guessing on how this world is going to work, and I'm fascinated by the limitations of what these devils are, and this next 2 volumes is going to show us that those limitations are far beyond what I initially thought. This significant other of the Bat Devil, though, tells Denji, like, hey, if you just let me kill this person, I'll let you go, but Denji's like, I can't do that, so I gotta kill you too. Just as things are looking horrible for Denji and he might lose this second fight because he's lost too much blood to allow his chainsaw to fully come out of its head, so it's just in this like half extended state. Don't worry, man, performance problems happen to everybody at a certain point in life. You're just 16, actually, as I learned in this volume, so it's just kind of early for you. But Aki shows up and saves him with his big wolf power bite, which is a sick power. The guy can just bring in a wolf by doing this and it'll come in and just whatever he's having it bite. Denji wakes up next to Aki and Aki essentially tells him, like, there was a lot that went wrong with what you just did on your patrol, and I could screw you over by reporting all of it. I'm not gonna, if you just promise me that you'll do as I say. And I'm like, dude, have you been paying attention at all to Denji? Okay, whatever, that'll work out for you. Power isn't even really punished that much aside from moving in with Denji and Aki, so now she is a part of that as well. We get some very failed humor, in my opinion, about her not flushing and not eating vegetables. Great. But we finally get the moment where Denji does get to follow through on his promise, and in exchange for saving this cat and saving Power, he is able to touch her chest. Turns out she's wearing breast pads, but once he finally touches her real chest, he's like, that was so hollow and meaningless. That was my purpose for everything. And that's actually like a bit of development and execution here that I'm like, it's not funny, it's immature, it's dumb, but it kinda works with what's been established so far. So you know what? Good execution of something I find stupid. But in a moment of like actual dread and manipulation and something feels a bit more sinister, we see Hakima hears about this non-climactic event for Denji and starts manipulating this underage 16-year-old with her own sexuality, saying like, it'll be better if you actually care about someone or they know what they're doing. So if you manage to kill the gun devil, I'll do anything you ask. And that is so many layers of fucked up. By the way, I do not mean that as like a criticism for this character. If they're being set up as a villain, which I do at this point feel like they are, this is genuinely causing me to feel that like, ugh, which it's meaning to, I think. And that's good. Just because I'm saying it's messed up doesn't mean I'm saying it's bad storytelling. I just want to clarify that. But we see the gun devil, which after a whole lot of news coverage around gun violence all over the world, was able to kill 1.2 million people, the majority of which were in the United States. Makes sense. And as a result, the coverage of gun violence has actually kind of been banned to try and reduce the fear of guns overall. My questioning of that would be like, wouldn't the fear brought about by these attacks that killed 1.2 million people be so great that they'd be absolutely dwarfed by the news coverage and give it just an insane amount of power that would basically be a god among the devils already? I guess not, because the news coverage dwindled away, so it lost a bunch of its power? Sorry for the second insert, but I just want to take a mental note here and put it on the record of like, there's clearly thematic ideas being tossed around in Chainsaw Man. Like, this could be taken as some kind of commentary on gun violence and the media's coverage of it and how copycats get inspired. Maybe, but I don't have enough yet to know if it's really going for that or if the author's just throwing stuff at the wall. So this insert's just my mental note of like, maybe this is a thing? But pieces of the gun devil have been found and are apparently attracted to other pieces, so they're trying to use these pieces to track down the gun devil. And continuing in the vein of Chainsaw Man being a lot about people's motivations, it turns out Aki's real motivation for being in this job and putting himself in so much danger is specifically to find this devil and take it down after what it did. And I do like the through line of motivation, purpose, being a real theme of Chainsaw Man that isn't being forgotten, and at least up into volume 2, I'm still very early on, is remaining relevant to not only what is trying to be put forth as theme, but the narrative as well. But they arrive at a hotel where one of the pieces from the gun devil is drawing them, and we see that, again, Power and Denji are being brought with the more experienced devil hunters here, and they start acting up and behaving poorly, and Aki simply gets them to behave by giving them gum. Gum's great, that makes sense. But when in front of them, these devil hunters essentially say like, don't worry, if they step out of line, we'll just kill Power and Denji. Power's like, you're treating us like crap. And Aki's response is like, you don't get human rights. You're a fiend, and he's Denji. But also continuing one of the themes that I am just finding to have diminishing returns, even though there were basically no returns to start with. Whoever kills the devil that's drawing them there gets promised a kiss on the cheek from Eye Patch Lady, so sexual favors for violence. Alright. Denji, though, showing what could maybe be considered character growth, but actually is not, says, no thank you, I've decided who my first kiss is going to be, and it's not you. And Aki's like, you? Kill the gun devil? But of course, Denji is won over for this motivation by being promised a kiss with tongue. After they make entrance into the hotel, though, they come across a little tiny devil that's got like little feetsies, and I first saw it and I went, oh, that's repugnantly adorable. And they quickly kill it and think, okay, that's not the one this piece was drawn to, so this was just a random devil we encountered. Continuing on, they try and go up to floor 9 and come out on floor 8. Maybe they miscounted. They try to go down to floor 7 and come out on floor 8, running into the party they left behind on floor 8, which means they've been caught in a loop. And yes, all the windows now just lead to other rooms within floor 8, and they are stuck in a dimension that is just floor 8, and apparently time itself has stopped. They spend a long time trying to escape this trap that they've obviously been lured into, but nothing seems to work. Even busting through the roof just leads them into the floor of floor 8. The floor of floor 8, and in some great character consistency. And that's, again, a point I will give Chainsaw Man. This author knows his characters and what they would do in the circumstances he creates. We see Denji just decides to go to sleep in a comfy bed, and he says, wake me up when, you know, something develops. And when he's finally woken up, he's told, while you were sleeping, we learned there's water and electricity. As far as food goes, there was a little bit in the luggage that hotel guests left behind when they ran. But everyone's getting kind of freaked out. Aki's been hunting the devil non-stop. Ere, I think that's how you say it, was helping Aki at first, but now he's freaking out and shut himself in a room and won't come out. Kobini, which again, dyslexia, I'm sorry, lost it and tried to drink from a toilet, so I knocked her out. And then there's the Fiend, and Denji's like, what's wrong with Power? And we see Power is sitting in a bed near them going, I'm bored, so I was thinking up a Nobel Prize winning invention. If I win a Nobel Prize, humans will grovel before me, and then I'll use my Nobel Prize as a stepping stone to become Prime Minister. I want to watch humans suffer, so my first act as Prime Minister will be to implement a 100% sales tax. To which Denji says, that's normal. And Eye Patch Lady goes, oh, never mind then. Hamino, that's her goddamn name, and we get a flashback that shows her and Aki have actually been bonded for quite some time. She actually got Aki addicted to smoking, so terrible friend. And after Aki returns and asks for a cigarette, which she is currently smoking her last, he then tells them like, oh yeah, Devil's here. It's actually the one we thought we killed. It's way bigger now. And they walk out into the hall and find a gargantuan blob of body parts. And this devil says, I will offer you a contract. Give me Denji's heart, and I will let everyone else leave alive. And immediately Ari, I think, says, Denji, let it eat you. I want to leave. They've been here for a while. And that is the end of Volume 2. Definitely not as good as Volume 1, but Volume 3, fortunately, was my favorite volume so far. Let's get into it, shall we? Hamino hits Ari and essentially says, oh, shut up. Aki, can't you end this by swallowing it with your fox? And Aki tries to use his little, like, power, which is cool. That's just a cool power. I want to make a wolf or fox eat people by just doing that. But unfortunately it won't work because they're completely cut off from the outside world, and apparently they need to be in the outside world for his power to work. Fortunately though, Amino's power can still work, and she has the Ghost Devil. She gave her eye, that's why she has the eye patch, so that she could use the Ghost Devil's hand. And she reaches with the Ghost Devil, who apparently can still come into the dimension they're in, and begins attacking this devil. And of important note, this does hurt the devil. It's going like, ow, but it just gets bigger and responds, it's no use. This is not my real body. My heart is not here. This is inside my stomach. My weak point is not on the 8th floor. Making a contract with me is the only way you can leave. And I know what you're thinking. Why would you make a contract with the devil? That's literally something you're told never to do in like every religion ever. But this is not like an actual singular devil. It's just a creature they call a devil, and apparently they actually have like binding things with contracts they make, and if they break them, they die. So this is a very real offer. And at this point, Hamino's like, you gotta die, Denji. And pretty much everyone but Aki is like slowly getting on board, especially Power, with the idea of killing Denji. Even Power is like, hey, I need to get my Nobel Prize idea out there. So die for my Nobel Prize idea, which is actually got a laugh out of me. That was like, she's so ridiculous. That actually was humor that worked. And this beast grows and becomes this actually like gargantuan, horrifying nightmare of teeth and limbs, and it's coming up for them. And apparently this is actually the Eternity Devil, which, yeah, these devils are going far beyond what I thought they could, and they are fascinating as creatures. Like, as someone who's a very big iconic monster fan, well done. These are actually really cool. It's still demanding Denji's heart, and we reach the chapter Chainsaw versus Eternity. And I knew we were in for an alternative conclusion to this fight, because this author likes to keep it weird. They've set up something that's not a traditional threat, and we need to reach some form of conclusion brought about by our protagonist. So I was wondering, how exactly is this going to be done, and will it be satisfying? And I'm happy to say, I was satisfied. We do see Aki's sword is being set up to be some kind of big deal, but they are refusing to use it. And finally, Amino tries to come forward and actually just kill Denji, but Aki jumps in the way and gets stabbed instead, and he is going to bleed out, but Power steps forward and decides to use her Blood Fiend ability to keep him alive. And at this point, Denji has had enough, and he stands up and goes, all right already, fine, I'll go get eaten, but FYI, I ain't going down without a fight, and if I do kill that devil, I want my kiss. I haven't forgotten about that. Power asks, do you have a strategy to beat it? And Denji says, it's gonna hurt like hell, but I'll bust out the chainsaws. Don't know why, but that devil's scared of my chainsaws. So scared that it doesn't want to mess with me. That's why it keeps trying to get you guys to kill me. Plus, that devil was crying out in pain when those attacks hit. Remember when I called attention to that? Big brain. If he hates pain so much, I can just torment it until it wants to die. I'll make it kill itself. Well done. Well done. I like that. But I know what you're thinking. Denji's like kind of time limited on his powers. After he loses a certain amount of blood, he can't activate his chainsaws or keep them out. They end up retracting. He finds a solution to this problem by drinking the blood of the devil he's fighting, creating, as he calls it, I've accidentally completed a perpetual motion machine. That Nobel Prize is mine. I hate how much I like that joke coming to a full conclusion. That is stupid and I love it, god damn it. We see 3 full days go by of Denji drinking this thing's blood and brutalizing it with his chainsaws. And after 3 full days where everyone else is starving and obviously in a rough condition, finally that devil just goes, I f***ing quit! And pulls up his heart for Denji to cut it because it's so tired of being in pain. And so Denji murderizes this devil, as he would put it, and cleaves its heart in 2. That is the stupidest, awesomest thing. I hate that I like it. And I feel like that's gonna slowly be my relationship with Chainsaw Man as this series progresses, if everyone who keeps hyping it up is right. Right now, I'm still on like, this is fine. It's got some charm, but overall I'm not super hooked yet. But there's moments in here where I'm like, there's a bit of a plot hash to figure out why Makima has such an interest in Denji. So they decide to take everyone out to get drunk. They go out and find out that Denji is only 16, which of course the person who promised to kiss him is like, you're a minor. Ugh. And then that gets way worse. We're gonna talk about that in a bit. We have a bunch of introductions where people go around and talk about who they are, and some of them say what their powers are, others keep it secret. And once Makima shows up, Denji's promised kiss is offered, but he doesn't want to do it in front of Makima. But then eventually, because everyone is so drunk, the person just grabs him and kisses him, and then vomits into his mouth. Okay. And Denji, because apparently he's in the habit of swallowing everything that enters his mouth because of his years on the streets, gulps it down. I'm regretting saying this is my favorite volume because I forgot about this part. Ew. Ew. Ugh. Denji is taken back to, I think it's Himeno's place, and she actually tries to have sex with this 16-year-old. Denji turns her down because he decides he wants his first time to be with Makima, which I would be like, thank God he's not having sex with this adult, but it's because he wants to have sex with the adult who is currently gaslighting and manipulating him to get him to go into horrendously dangerous situations despite him being a teenager. Oh my god, I did not expect this turn of events for Chainsaw Child. It should be called Chainsaw Child. But they wake up the next morning after not doing it, and after she asks if they hooked, MG's like, no, I want my first time to be with Makima, and she says, ah, thank god. If I made a move on a minor, I'd get arrested, seriously. You think? I hate her. She is awful. She is genuinely a predator. What the fuck? But she tells Denji she could help hook him up with Makima if he helps hook her up with Aki. And then they agree to be friends, and he'll bring by Aki and Power for meals so they can all start bonding and being friends. And I'd be like, oh, wholesome moment, but no. We cut to seeing Makima on a train though, and as they are doing some business, suddenly 4 men around them pull out guns and shoot Makima and the agent she's with, and we see them say, this is Team C. Commence operation. Assassinations begin happening as we see multiple gunmen actually begin surrounding other agents as well. And finally, as we cut to our team that's actually getting another meal, we see a gangster who is apparently the son of the gangster Denji killed, stands up pulling out a gun, saying, the gun devil says it wants your heart. He shoots Denji in the head, as well as managing to shoot Aki. Power jumps forward after Aki brings in his wolf and does a big old bite. But we see the fox, not wolf, sorry, tells Aki it's not human or devil, before a blade goes through its head, and we see what looks like the machete version of Chainsaw Man cut its way free from the fox head. Aki tells Power to stop Himeno's bleeding as he draws his sword, which is actually a spike. Power remarks that. She's like, it's a spike. Why is it a spike? He begins fighting with this machete person. They then swoop around, and Aki begins yelling fire as he stabs the machete devil. Are they devil? I don't know what this, like, he's clearly the same thing that Denji is, but I'm not even entirely sure what Denji is. They said there's not a name for it, so I'll call it a super devil. Really interesting though, after stabbing this machete super devil several times, Aki yells, curse, finish it. And we see, I guess, drawn from the stab wounds that have been inflicted, a hand grabs the machete super devil and skulls begin feasting on him. Chainsaw Man has cool powers. I will never dispute that. A little girl shows up saying, you're cursed, devil. Run someone through with that spike enough times and they'll die. Is that the gist of it? Nice moves on your part. Aki responds, where did you come from? Are you with him? We see the machete devil stands up, and Aki is shocked by this, and the fight resumes. Aki suffers a massive wound, and the wounded Himeno tells Power to save Aki. Power responds, there's no way, I didn't even see that guy move. And finally Himeno, seeming to accept that she will die, says ghost. Her ghost devil responds, I don't want to, the girl, she's scary. But Himeno says, ghost, I'll give you all of me, so let me use all of you. Because before she just gave her eye for the hand, now she's giving everything for the full power of the ghost devil. And a lot of people are afraid of ghosts, despite them not being real, just saying. And so we see this ghost show up to fight the machete super devil, and holy crap, is that a terrifying ghost devil. Great creature design. Devil hunters get so used to the deaths of those close to them that they stop crying, but Aki is quick to cry. Even when newbies he'd been babysitting died, he'd cry in secret. That made him interesting. Having someone care enough to cry for you must make a person happy. And as Himeno's thinking this, her body parts keep disappearing as the ghost consumes more of her. The super devil machete is crying out for help, as the ghost devil is certainly winning their fight. Himeno looks at Aki and says, don't you die, Aki, because when I die, I want you to cry. And we see the little girl says, snake, swallow it whole. And a snake devil shows up and consumes the ghost devil, which I thought couldn't happen because earlier we were told the ghost devil couldn't be touched by people, but I guess other devils can touch the ghost devil. And after their victory, we see the machete super devil remarks to the little girl, the fiend ran for it, to which the girl responds, our target is Chainsaw's heart. We don't need to pursue. But we see the ghost hand goes to Denji's dead body and pulls the string from his chest, bringing him back to life, and the machete remarks, I'll cut him in two next. To which the girl says, don't damage his heart. Denji stands up and says, I don't really get what your deal is, but I think I can safely say that you jerks are bad guys. I love me some bad guys, cause nobody complains when I murderize them. To which the machete super devil says, I'll put you down a second time. And then they begin fighting, and that is the end of volume 3. I really like the ending action sequence here. I really like the beginning of this volume with how it resolved with Denji fighting that eternity devil. The middle, I'm going to block from my memory entirely. But overall, this has been my favorite Chainsaw Man volume yet. I am now 3 volumes into 11 total volumes. I think deep enough to say that possibly Chainsaw Man just isn't for me. It's short enough though that I definitely can get through all the way to the end, and I'm having a lot of fun talking to the really big fans of this series about what they like, and I don't necessarily like what I do like, so I'll keep it going. And just remember, this is all just for good fun, and I'm sorry if I'm criticizing something you really love a bit harshly, but I'm allowed to have my own personal taste. But don't take it as I completely hate it, because it's still just kind of something where I'm like, this is fine. There's definitely angles and quirks to it I'm enjoying, I just haven't been pulled in as much as I would like to. Anyway, everyone, like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. And have a good one, y'all. Peace. And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my latest high tier Patreon, Bagman Gibbons, Zero the Navigator, Cole Labor, Chat God, and Laughing Cat Dog.